It's a Freestyle Friday on Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. We got a lot of newsy news this morning. And obviously, we've got to get into the preview of Atlanta United Nashville. All of those things are on the table. Seriously, there's a lot of coaching stuff going on. There's a lot of financial stuff going on. But late last night, early this morning, depending on your perspective, this went down.
And the winner is Brazil.
At like 10 till 2. So now here's so I guess this is opening kickoff officially, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And let me see, where's my QR code? There's my QR code. That's the QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching us this morning, on the YouTubes, on the Twitch, or on the 280 character app. Don't forget, with the QR code and you get into Kickoff Coffee, don't forget to use the code Soccer Down Here 15. They take 15% off your purchase. Then they in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Like I said, I only want you to do one QR code at once. So, all right. So last night, this morning, as I pour my caffeine to get ready for everything, started at about 10 o'clock, I think, if I remember correctly. I think it was at 10 o'clock. And that was when the broadcast was, the Congress was supposed to start with our friends at FIFA, with our buddy Gianni, and in Bangkok, Thailand. And you could do one of two things to try to see what was going on. You could watch the stream on their website. And by the way, thanks to FIFA for the sound and the release. But you could also go to FS2 and watch everything that was going on. It started late. And what FS2 did was they basically just kind of took the stream or whatever URL code they were given. And from the absolute beginning, they just kind of was like, okay, let's blow this up to HD and then we'll put it on FS2. At 11 o'clock or shortly thereafter, they had gotten to, I think there were 12 items on the agenda. At 11 o'clock, they were at number 5, I think, where they were going over all the financials from last year and getting ready for the financials for 2025. All of a sudden, FS2 goes to a different program. On the stream, it had been given we'd been given the inclination that maybe around 11:30, 11:45, somewhere in there, we'd have, or 12:30, we'd have the notification as to what was going on. So after the first hour on FS2 cuts away. They just would like doink, they hit a button, master control goes in a different direction, you start seeing syndicated programming. So I had to go to the stream to watch the rest of this. Gianni Infantino calls for a 5-minute coffee break, and it turned into like 20. And 12:30 turned into like 1:45 or 10 to 2 before they finally came up with the announcement of Brazil getting into the Women's World Cup game in 2027. And we talked about how the U.S. has deferred to 2031, and it would have been a very, very crowded landscape for economics and advertisers and sponsorships and things like that. So probably the better play. But what we're supposed to be watching, the network turns away from it. You have to go to the stream. It takes a lot longer. Gee, who knew that an organizational conference would take longer than the actually appointed time that was listed on the website and on the stream and all those kinds of things. And, so 10 to 2 this morning Eastern time, you end up with a decision. So Brazil gets the 2027 World Cup, and now the race is on for 2031. So they meaning Brazil, they've got about 3 years now to get everything squared away for their bid. As natural as football. The bid book was titled that, Normalizing Women's Football in the Country, Breaking Down Existing Societal Prejudices and Barriers Around the Women's Game, as well as the literal environmental sustainability angle. They want to use the 2027 World Cup as a platform for environmental issues like climate and biodiversity protection. The bid book states, and this is from Meg Linehan at The Athletic, the bid book states multiple objectives for hosting the World Cup. Main ones are increasing participation in women's football across all levels, increasing engagement, and making it financially sustainable. One notable element of the plan for growth of the sport is a requirement that all clubs, all men's clubs, wishing to take part in high-level national continental competitions must now provide a structure for a women's team. The bid book does not get into structure, and if that means the women's team has to be fielded or what level of investment has to be guaranteed, but they have set targets with CONMEBOL to increase the number of women's teams in the country. Bid book openly addresses the fact Brazil banned women's football for a decade and centers the idea of normalizing the sport. Still some choices in the language of the bid book that show that it's going to be a large project. So the state of the game in Brazil. 1941, President of Brazil issued Decree 3199, which established the country's national sport council, but also prohibited women from participating in organized sports of any kind, including football. Took until 1979 to repeal it. Brazil's first selection of a women's national team happened in 86, only a year behind the USWNT's first matches in 85. Logistics. The bid for 2023, before eventually withdrawing the bid in 2020, citing COVID-19, financial impact. Original bid was planned for 8 host cities. This time around, Brazil is aiming for 10. Proposed, the 2027 tournament run from June 24th to July 25th. Federations also promised all major domestic tournaments and the top 2 tiers of both men's and women's pro leagues will all be suspended during that time. Ensures stadium training sites will be free, but as the bid book also notes, quote, we can guarantee that all attention in the football ecosystem in Brazil will be focused on international competition. Included a proposed schedule: Belo Horizonte, Brasilia, Cuiabá, Fortaleza, Manaus. We talked about Manaus. Porto Alegre, Recife, Rio, Salvador, and Sao Paulo. Every stadium chosen was either built for the 2014 World Cup or refurbished at the time. We talked about Manaus basically being in the Amazon and being the one stadium that is detached from everybody else. Like literally, it is a flight of, I think it's a 3-hour flight from the coast into Manaus, into basically the Amazon rainforest. But Brazil, as of the bid book submission, does not plan to use the existing stadia to their full capacity. By reducing capacity, the CBF argues they can meet the average attendances expected for a Women's World Cup. This will allow us to increase or decrease capacities based on the final draw and future ticket sales requirements. Not only are they reducing, and this once again is Meg Linehan, not only are they reducing the gross capacity of each stadium, but the capacity is then reduced further for, quote, seat kills. So I guess they're treating it like a rock concert, like production holds. Seats that can't be sold because they're either obstructed or removed for VIP areas or media tribunes. 2027 net capacities. Belo Horizonte, 66,658. Mane Garrincha. So Belo Horizonte is basically going to be cut into a third. 66,658. Net capacity, 25,700. The Maracanã, understandably, is the one that's going to be holding the most. Traditionally holds 73,100. They're going to trim it to 66,100. So 7, they're going to trim it by 10%. But Belo Horizonte, as an example, goes from 66,500 to 25,700. Garrincha in Brasilia gets cut by 40%. Cuyaba gets cut in half. Fortaleza gets cut from 57.8 to 22.5. Manaus gets cut basically in half. Porto Alegre gets cut in half. Recife gets cut from 45,000 to 20,602. Salvador, Fonte Nova goes from 47 to 36, and Sao Paulo goes from 47 to 42, the Arena Corinthians. Bids also committed to providing free transport to and from stadiums for clients, including all spectators, by making agreements with responsible public transportation bodies in host cities. We have learned important lessons from the 2014 FIFA World Cup, and negotiations will take place to provide free transport to tournament fans as a key priority. Financials. Federations investing an annual amount of approximately $25 million US in competitions and national teams. If every single ticket is sold across all categories, 1.7 million tickets total as planned now with the capacities we just talked about, that's about $55 million in revenue. They'll get another $29.5 million from hospitality packages, $1.5 million each in merchandise and food and beverage sales. Final piece of the $100 million estimate for competition-related revenues, $10 million in sponsorship. Last year, at the conclusion of the 2023 World Cup, Gianni Infantino said the tournament jointly hosted broke even by generating over $570 million. Right now, revenue for Brazil and their estimates is a tenth of that. Brazil's determined to have a strong commercial position, largely because of the cost of running a World Cup. They're expected to be nearly $50 million cheaper than FIFA's baseline projection. Brazil gets a boost from being in the Eastern time zone. Brazil 2027 bid projected to exceed 2.1 million tickets, according to the FIFA analysis. While the total seating capacity and therefore sellable inventory is the smallest of the two bids, this is offset by the strong on-sale rates. And so if demand is there, you would think that FIFA would expand those and that the stadia that are listed in Brazil would expand their capacities going on. The major reveal of the technical assessment was in the risk. Of the two competing bids, only the European joint bid received a red flag from FIFA. A number of legal risks have been identified. The three governments, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, might not have allowed FIFA to have the anticipated operational control, in quotation marks, of the 2027 World Cup and may have reallocated certain costs to FIFA. So basically, it sounds like Brazil was going to pay all the freight. FIFA didn't have to worry about a dime. The Belgium, Netherlands, Germany bid was going to be kind of like, well, you know, FIFA, we need a little help here. FIFA was like, oh, I don't know about that. They're kind of looking in their wallet, trying to figure out who's going to pick up the check. Three governments had a chance to mitigate these risks to FIFA if they implement their commitments, and this is in quotes, if they implement their commitments to cooperate with FIFA to meet the tournament's requirements. Technical assessment, Brazil walked out of it with a higher score. In FIFA's technical analysis, that the main takeaway is once again reinforced. It was Brazil's, meaning South America's, turn. So that's where you are. At the end of the day, congratulations, Brazil, you're on the clock. And there you go. So 2027 Women's World Cup is going to Brazil. And then now the race for 2031 continues or starts or however you want to phrase it. So there you go. Decided at 1:51 this morning-ish, 1:30, 1:45, when they said it was going to be about 12:30. About par for the course for FIFA. So a difficult viewing experience in the Eastern time zone was made even more difficult by the fact that they just took their own sweet time about it. Once again, no real surprise. So there you go. That's Opening Kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on the 280-character app, on the Twitch, or on the YouTubes. And you can use that QR code. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Very, very cool stuff there. Housekeeping, by the way, right there, as I cover up one QR code to go for a full screen. That's the scarf to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, $32. You can DM me, DM the show. There's a form in the Discord. If you want it mailed out to you, it's another $5, so 32 plus 5. Email me, DM me, email the show, DM the show, however you want to get it done. You want Abby to deliver it to you, she'll do it. However, Abby driving down the East Coast is probably not going to be able to do it to the West Coast at present. So, however you wish to have it delivered, let us know. You want to see Abby? You want to see me? And I hand it over to you? 32. You want to put it in the mail and have it sent to you that way? 32 plus 5, like 37. So we can figure it all out. And thanks for supporting a program from the ground up, getting their support in for growing the game across all levels. And it's great to catch up with our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation when they are moving things along and progressing. So you get to help out in that process. Here's the scarf. And if you go to the website, you can see Maddie modeling the whole thing. How'd you like to put that on your intern review? Yeah, I started I was a model for an international marketing campaign for a soccer federation. So there's the scarf, 32 plus 5. And once again, thanks to all the support that you guys give every single day for all of the stuff that's going on here on the planet. So once again, growing the game one country at a time, and you get to do it from the ground level with our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. There's the scarf from our friends at Die Hard to help out the Marshall Islands. Unc, I thought that Abby put it in the Twitch pitch yesterday. So maybe go back. But tell you what, DM me and we can figure it out. And add OSG Nelson on the Twitters and we can figure it out. So, but like I said, you can email me, DM me, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, if you want to DM me, we can just get straight to the end of it. Delivery info, no payment info taken. Okay. Tell you what, well, and you can Venmo me. We'll do that. You can Venmo me. Money goes right to them anyway, so it's all good. And it literally rolls over. So tell you what, DM me after the show. You can we can Venmo or PayPal or whatever. We'll figure it out. So it'll be coming your way, and we'll figure it out. So however you like to do things electronically, we'll figure it out. So there you go. Thanks, and Unc, thanks for supporting the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. So, all right, this morning we got a lot of newsy news, and obviously Unc has already put his thoughts in on Atlanta and Nashville. We got all the thoughts about Atlanta and Nashville that we have this morning. Let's see. We have David Wagner was sacked by Norwich after Norwich got blown out by Leeds yesterday. So they lose 4-0 in the playoff semi. David Wagner, less than 18 months in charge. David Wagner is out the door. Statement, a couple of sentences from Ben Napper, the sporting director. And so now they're going to be chasing after a new manager. So David Wagner is now on the market for anybody who is interested in David Wagner. Thomas Tuchel has confirmed that he is exiting Bayern Munich. Couldn't agree on terms, he says. Confirmed he's leaving at the end of the year. Agreed to part ways in February after the club lost 3 matches in a row, fell 8 points behind Bayer Leverkusen, running the Champions League semis. Along with the club's failure to secure a replacement for Tuchel, seemingly led to a change of heart among the club bosses. And this comes from our friends at the Agence France Presse. Tuchel confirmed he was in talks about continuing next season, but said he would leave after Saturday's final game against Hoffenheim. Couple of sentences, and Munich not winning the title for the first time in 11 years. So German media reported Tuchel wanted an extension until 26 should he agree to stay. The original deal was set to run until 25 before his exit. Tuchel said at the time he would have preferred to stay on, but the announcement kickstarted a fruitless search for a new boss. Alonso, Julian Nagelsmann, Ralf Rangnick, others had been approached. Tuchel said that Harry Kane was out of Saturday's match with Hoffenheim and had left Germany for treatment, struggling with a back injury and had been a doubt ahead of the semifinal second leg against Real Madrid, receiving treatment with his personal doctor. He's no longer here. He won't travel to Hoffenheim, quoting Tuchel. Kane's absence ends his slim chance of breaking Lewandowski's single-season Bundesliga scoring record. Kane has 36. The record's 41. Sané, Musiala, and Kane are not making the squad on the weekend. Tuchel said that Kim Eric Maxim, Choupo-Moting, Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry, Rafael Guerrero, and Sasha Bowie would also miss the match. Quote, it's a pretty long list. Duh. Yeah, Michael. Louisville. Louisville's been nuts this morning, and we ain't talking about Rossing either. There will be billable hours. I can guarantee you that right now. The tournament for the PGA, Scotty Scheffler's tee time has been pushed back to about 40 minutes from now. So I guess I probably should watch just to see what all the chaos is going to look like. And so, no, it is not there. So, okay. So now we have Steve Romines, a local attorney who has been hired on Scotty Scheffler's behalf, PGA. So let's see what happens. It's on the plus right now. That's weird. Okay. All right. So if it's on the plus, it's on the plus. So be it. All right. So what other news is out there this morning? Barcelona, by the way, like I said, this is all the coaching stuff that we're going to get out of the way. Barcelona could sack Xavi. Once again, our friends at Agence France Press this morning. Barcelona are poised to sack Xavi Hernandez just weeks after he made a U-turn and decided to stay at the club. Catalan radio station RAC1 said President Joan Laporta had decided to sack Xavi, with Sport confirming the news, while AS said Barcelona were already deciding who would replace the coach. In January, Xavi said he would leave at the end of the season, but after a run of strong form in April, he and Laporta agreed the coach would stay for the next campaign, contract expiring in June of 25. However, Laporta did not travel with the team for their 2-0 win in at Almeria on Thursday. Spanish media reporting he was angry with Xavi's pre-match comments. Coach had highlighted Barcelona's financial difficulties in comparison to the strength of the new Spanish champions, Real Madrid, and other European giants. Barcelona fans have to understand we're not in the same situation, said Xavi on Wednesday. Stood by his words Thursday when he was asked about Laporta not attending the Almeria match. Quote, they haven't told me anything personally. We traveled with the sporting vice president, the more directors all normally. I said what I think is real, that we will fight for all the trophies with a lot of hope, with ambition, but that the situation is not easy. We are all working very well. The club must have all changed the situation. Laporta said back earlier in the season, glad Xavi would remain at the helm. It was good for the stability of the club. A couple of sentences, and Xavi could be leaving. So Xavi could be leaving. Xavi could be going. He could be staying. He could be hanging out. He could be doing whatever he's doing. And you got to be kidding me with all of this stuff. So, with everything being pushed back this morning for the second round of the tournament, the coverage has been pushed back as well. So yeah, Scotty Scheffler has had a very, very busy morning. There already have been billable hours, and there will be more billable hours. So we've got that this morning, involved anybody and everybody, and all of the. Yeah, I did not have any of this on the bingo card. I really did not. And Scheffler's tee time was pushed back till a little after 10 o'clock. They could do that. The rules of the game say that there's like a third rule of golf, and some codicil and appendix, and like down in the section of sections, it's like, yeah, we can push a tee time back for extenuating circumstances, and I think this qualifies as an extenuating circumstance. So you got all the stuff going on at Valhalla, and their times have all been pushed back as well. So it's been a fun morning that we've seen so far. 9:30, morning Alex, morning Unk, morning Dell. Bart is just naming coaches right now. Michael Head, morning. Our resident, one of our resident golfer dudes. Morning Abby. Abby can no longer go to Nashville. Public service announcement. She can no longer go to Nashville. She's got 2 tickets and a parking pass. 2 tickets and a parking pass. So I think Bart is trying to figure out if he can share, but first word is here. And Hutch is saying that Scotty Scheffler should wear a pair of handcuffs while teeing off his protest. Some folks are saying maybe he should just wear an all orange outfit. Yeah, it's one of those mornings. It's one of those mornings, man. It is 9:30, which means it's one thing on a Friday. We get to catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. And for this one, we catch up with a dude wearing a lid. Hey, Cap, wearing a cap.
Morning, John.
So, are you watching the PGA Championship? You look like you're about to go out and play a quick 9 or something. So, are you gearing up for your day? Is that how this is playing out?
I did not have time to take a shower yet this morning, so I was like, let me stick a hat on for this call. That's the honest answer. I am supposed to play golf today, John, but the weather gods are not quite cooperating. So we'll see.
That's just not nice. That's not nice at all. Why are they not cooperating? Do they not understand the value of going out and playing a round of golf?
And it's a matchup today, John. This isn't just me going out and goofing around. Like, this is a 2-on-2 matchup.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So are we allowed to say what this matchup allegedly is all about? Is it
it's part of like a club tournament. It's kind of like throughout the year. It's a 2v2 type thing. You kind of win, you keep moving on. So we won our first round matchup. This is supposed to be our second round.
Okay.
But the rain does not help me, John, because I'm not a long hitter. So when my ball hits the fairway and goes bloop, and I don't get a roll, I'm usually having to hit a very long second shot.
Okay. How are you with your long iron / hybrids, sir?
I prefer a shorter iron.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I'm just asking because if you get no roll, then you're going to be using hybrids and like 5 woods and things like that. And I'm right there with you, brother.
Yep. It's not ideal, but hey, any golf is better than no golf, so I'll take it.
Absolutely true. What I wanted to start off this morning with, and since we're on golf, I'll go ahead and get this one out of the way. Bart is asking, what's your best round of golf, and how do you think you do in handcuffs?
That would be a struggle. I think it might help my putting game or something. I don't know. Keep the wrist nice and steady.
Keep the wrists right there. Yeah.
Best round, I think, is like an 84.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that would be awesome today. But yeah, I haven't read the news much. I saw Scheffler in handcuffs quickly this morning. I was taking the dog out, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Yes, that is absolutely true.
No, if that's on topic. So
yes, but there will be there have been and will be more billable hours involving his arrest and now appearance at Valhalla in Louisville. What I wanted to start off with you this morning, other than sharing golf stories, is about handling adversity, and I want to talk about it in the idea first off of an adult handling adversity, and then from a mentoring perspective, handling adversity and trying not to let it be quicksand, for lack of a better phrase. When you have been when you were a professional athlete with clubs in leagues and you hit a rough patch, I guess, well, you can share secrets if you want, but how do you keep it from turning into quicksand as an athlete, and how difficult is that to keep it from being something that just turns into something that cycles and cycles and cycles? And how do you try and stop it and not let it to just overcome you, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at as an athlete.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult. Because I think every team has gone through periods like that. And I don't think there's one easy solution, honestly, because I take my last year in Columbus, we had won the Cup the year before and brought back basically the same team, if not even a little bit better. And we were in a year-long struggle. It's like we just couldn't get results. And the whole time we're like, oh, it'll turn, And so it's just a fine line between being patient and, really needing to step on the gas and change things and, freak out because, hey, we're running out of time here. I always leaned more towards the patience and just my personality. Like, hey, just keep doing what we're doing. The ship will right itself. But, in that sense, it was nice to have different personalities in the locker room, like Joseph, for example, who was the exact opposite. It was like, well, it needs to change now. It needs to change yesterday, type mentality. So, yeah, I think that it's a real challenge though, because as a coach, it's like, do you push harder and harder and harder? Do you get away from the game? Take a day off and just like, hey guys, get away from soccer. Because I think the easy answer is, oh, just work harder, just work harder, just work harder. But that's not always the best case. I think that sometimes you can just, like you said, get in your own head, and then it's like sometimes the best thing is just to get away from it for a little bit.
Yeah, because if you're working harder and harder and harder and you still don't see the results, you push the idea of getting into that cycle and being deeper and deeper and deeper, or you just get to a point where you're just like, well, F it, this isn't working. And then the whole house of cards can fall down. I mean, it seems to me from an athletic perspective, a very delicate balance because of all the different personalities, and then if you try something and it doesn't work, well, then you're like, well, damn, I'm never going to try that again because it didn't work. And we haven't seen any fruits from any of the labor.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And the only thing that I have seen that really destroys a team, it prevents them from turning the corner, is if they just go their separate ways, right? Some guys check out, some guys point fingers, you just get, pissed off at each other. And, it's one thing if they're all pissed at the coach, right? And you rally around each other and that's the case. I've had that in my career. But it's another thing if it's within the locker room and there's divisions within the locker room, and then it leaks over to the field as well, and that's tough to come back from.
No, and then you have, I guess, option 3, where you have faith in the system, you have faith in the coach, and the mistakes seem to just continue to happen, and it's almost like you can't get out of your own way, even if you have all of this internal faith about what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And, when you get in a rut, it just seems like every mistake is punished. Whereas like if things are going well, you make mistakes and it doesn't turn into a goal and then they're forgotten about. So, that's tough.
I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah. And when you're in that moment, it's like, in one sense, you need to just focus on yourself and like, hey, how do I get myself in the best preparation for the next game, while also, focusing on the team. I'm not saying it on your own, like you don't give a damn about anything else that's going on, but okay, let me worry less about how Johnny's doing over here, and let me worry about myself and my own performance and how I'm doing and how I'm preparing and what I need to do to get myself ready. Because if everyone's doing that, then maybe the whole group can be in a better place.
When it comes to young adults, young athletes, in your experience, I guess, pre-mentor and now as a mentor, have you seen them handle it differently? Because I mean, I imagine that when I was a young kid back in the days of black and white television and movable type and the horse-drawn carriage, that I was told to handle adversity differently. The whole rub some dirt on it, and the whole rub some dirt on it idea. Just shake it off and get back out there, and you get kicked in the ass and you go. And I would imagine in some circles, probably generationally, you had different exposures to handle it differently than what I was exposed to. Now, you as a mentor, I would imagine, is it different than how I would have handled it, how you were presented to handle it? Is it different now in trying to deal with adversity to where it doesn't turn into quicksand with younger athletes today?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think that kids have always given each other a hard time, but I think that one of the challenges that some players, especially higher level players, are facing is sometimes you're training with a different team or you're playing up and you don't know everybody, or there's just not that continuity of, I grew up with the same group of guys and we played together for 8 years together, minus plus or minus one or two guys. But it was basically the same group. And it's so different today, so much movement. And I think that makes it a little bit more challenging because you don't feel as comfortable sometimes. And there's new faces and you're trying to impress, and it just turns into cliques within teams and stuff. And then obviously social media as well makes it more challenging. But in general terms, I think, younger players take it harder initially, but then get over it a little bit faster.
Huh. I would, back in my day, I mean, it just got to the point to where if we got the same advice hammered at us and hammered at us and hammered at us, and we didn't accept it, it's just like, man, I'm tired of hearing the same things. I'm going to tune you out. And I think that's I think a universal danger where you have all of these adults that are coming down on young kids and young student athletes and what have you. If they keep hearing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, there's that danger that they're going to tune it out.
Totally.
And completely and totally just, it's like, look, I'm tired. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm just going to go over here and either not do anything or just leave, period. And I mean, and that's a part of this balance. I would think that that's dangerous too, where you don't want to sound like you're hounding them and they can take it one way when it's really not.
Definitely. Because no matter how good the lesson is that you're trying to teach a kid or a student or an athlete, if it's not being received, it doesn't matter. Right. And so, that receiving part is so challenging, right? It's how do you deliver it? Because, you can always pin it on the kid for not listening or whatever. But, if it's a reoccurring thing, then, like Alex over there, maybe you need to look in the mirror. I'm not saying Alex does, I'd blame the goalkeeper always for sure.
Yes.
But as far as delivering the message, maybe it's the messenger, right? And how you delivering that message that needs to change.
Oh, nothing like adult leagues to sit there and remind you. It's like, man, I don't know what the problem is. This universality of what's going on. It's like, man, I don't get it.
Yeah, you need new shoes, probably.
There you go. It's obviously it's the shoes money. It's the shoes.
It's not my golf game. It's the clubs that I have.
It's got to be the clubs and it's got to be the shoes. Halftime with Michael Parkhurst at MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at BG Mentoring on the Twitters. See, I can't say X because it's like I'm Xing somebody out. I'm Xing somebody. That just sounds bad. It's like, yeah, I'm Xing somebody on social media. That doesn't sound good. And I wanted to talk about adversity today to start things off. When it comes to you and Greg and dealing with these situations where you have these promising athletes or these promising individuals, whether they want to be pro athletes or if they want to do something else that's attached to the sport as they grow, we can see it through emotions and facial expressions and stuff that something's weighing on them. How easy is it for you and for Greg to break through that wall at times and get to the crux of an issue? Or do young student athletes today sit there and they don't want to talk? I mean, how do you break through that idea of, something's wrong, you can't quite put your finger on it, they may not want to be open and honest from the beginning? How do you break through that wall to sit there and remind them, hey, I'm here to help you?
Yeah, and I think that my wife's been trying to break through that wall for the 20 years that we've been together.
15 with me and the boss, brother. I'm right there with you.
I think that's why we try and have relationships with these kids, not just, show up once a year and, get paid and try and give him a lesson, right? It's like, no, that's not what a mentor is. And so we try and have these relationships where we try and tell them we're on their side and not a coach, not a parent, just want the best for them and however we can deliver that. And for some, it's quick, and for some, it takes a lot of time. And, but that's the benefit of, us doing these packages and, over time creating these relationships, because, like with everything, they become more comfortable and share things. And especially when they realize, hey, we're a sounding board and here to help, versus, give you a lecture and, like mom and dad, or, sit you down like a coach type thing. So yeah, it's a challenge though. But it's a fun challenge sometimes.
What makes it fun?
Just being able to see someone open up a little bit, right? Because even myself, right? It was like similar to what you're saying, I was like, I can deal with it myself. I'll figure it out. I can get over it. Like, it's my problem.
It's a sign of weakness if you go outside yourself.
Yeah. And, so, and I've learned over time, I've gotten better, for sure. My wife's been a big part of that. But, I think that it definitely helps, to just be able to spitball things and talk to somebody. And so it's nice to be able to, crack those codes sometimes and figure out how to connect with a kid who doesn't want to open up at first, or doesn't feel comfortable, or doesn't see the benefit type thing.
When was the last time that you got to crack that code, and what was the trigger that helped it get cracked, I guess, is probably the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, I worked with a young mentee probably 2 weeks ago ish now, who was getting ready for a big tournament. It was a showcase, or I can't remember what it was, but they were struggling with, the pressure and the anxiety leading up to it, and finally had, told me that, they were super nervous and just really wanted to do well. They weren't sure they were going to do well type thing. And so we ended up having a great conversation and talking about it, and just helping them understand that we all feel that, and that's completely normal. I think that there's a false sense that, being nervous and anxious about something is always a bad thing, and that, the best don't feel that way. And it's just not true. And so helping them understand that they're not alone, and that we all feel that way, and you can still be like that and be confident. So it was a good conversation.
Because you can channel that energy and funnel it in a direction that you might not have anticipated was a direction you could take it. Because, if you have this nervous energy, you have this anxiety or what have you, if you can figure out how to channel it and help it push you through whatever that issue is, I would think that that's part of it also, where instead of having it weigh on you, you use it as almost like a fulcrum, where you sit there and it's like, okay, instead of it weighing on me, I'm going to have it go outward and help it be the energy that I need to achieve whatever goal it is that I've got in mind.
Yeah, exactly. We want to use that energy from, the neck down, basically, right? We want to stay, nice and free in the brain and calm in the brain. But yeah, you can use that energy to go out there and run all day and be excited about it, and have that energy out on the field. But yeah, just reversing the psychology of it, and, understanding that we can still be confident even though we're nervous. Confidence isn't lacking fear, right? It's just that ability to deal with it when the time's necessary.
When you were starting out as an athlete, who was the first person that reminded you that you could reverse that energy?
I don't know. I never really talked about it. I think it's something I just developed over time, like just realizing like I'm nervous before games, and some games I'm more nervous, but looking back thinking, well, even though I was nervous leading up to it, I still played really well. So I'm doing something right or it's fine or whatever. But I never really talked to anybody about being nervous or, the pros or cons of it or anything. I guess
So
it was just self-talk.
yeah, so when you self-regulated when you were younger, who were those folks that you got to use as soundboards to help you channel things from the neck up to the neck down as you went into college and professional elements and things like that? Who are those folks that helped you separate things and have it go outbound?
Yeah,
Or were you still the same kind of guy that did it yourself?
mostly. I mostly was because even in high school, I was down at IMG, so away from family and, lived with a good buddy of mine, but we didn't have those types of conversations. So yeah, just mostly myself. In high school we did work with a sports psychologist who was really good. I really enjoyed and learned a lot from him. So definitely some of those conversations helped. Even in a group setting. So I think that was probably the first time where I started thinking about, the mental side of the game without actually analyzing it.
If the mentor Michael Parkhurst had a session with the athlete Michael Parkhurst, when would you have wanted to have that first session with you as a mentee talking to you as an athlete?
Yeah, probably, gosh, I don't know, probably 11 or 12, just because even at that point, I was going to ID camps and, trying out for regional teams and staying at colleges and in the summer to go to these camps for weeks at a time. And, just understanding that process a little bit, what this entails and what can come out of it, whether you make it or you don't make it. I think probably would have been good conversations for myself and everybody to have with somebody.
So then let me ask you this. I'll take it one step further. If Michael Parkhurst mentor had a conversation with Greg Garza mentee, what do you think the conversations would have been like?
Greg Garza as a young
Or
Greg.
or as teammate, or if teammate age. If you were you now and got to have a conversation with Greg about mentoring and about channeling energy and things like that, when do you think, if you had that first conversation, what do you think it would be like with you as a mentor and Greg as a mentee?
And Greg's already a professional.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll ask him the same question next time he's on, just so in the interest of fairness.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think everything's so individualized. So understanding where he is, and for Greg, probably a lot of it was coming back from injuries, and how do you deal with that, and will you be the same player, and how do you get back to that level? Understanding your role within the team. Greg already did that really, really well. But those would be the things that probably I would assume that we would focus on first. Because that was the biggest, thing that he had to go through in his career, I think, was these injuries that kept derailing things.
You ain't kidding, brother.
I mean, his story of resiliency, as far as before he went to Mexico, of trying to find a team. It's pretty crazy. He went through a lot, and I'm sure that was very difficult. So, I wish he had a mentor, or maybe he did at that point, to help him. But, he came out of it stronger, and it worked out really well for him. So, I think that's probably why he's so good at what he does.
When it comes to, and now I've got just like random things popping into my head now. This morning in England, and this is soccer based. The English FA is phasing in a ban of deliberate heading in youth football. U7 to U9 level from the 24-25 season, the U10 level from 25-26, and the U11 level from 26-27. Phasing in a ban of deliberate heading in youth football. When you were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, how were you taught about heading, and what do you think about something where you're phasing out a phase of the game to where you have to focus on using your feet? And because last time I checked, it's referred to as football, not headball. But what do you think about something like this?
Yeah, I think there's people a lot smarter than me that are saying, hey, this is of benefit to these kids that are going to grow up, and most of them aren't going to play soccer professionally and end up making money from it. So why should we put them in a position to have potentially long-term issues from heading a soccer ball?
Mhm.
So I think for me, it makes sense. It's not a big part of the game, especially when you're young.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big part of the game when you're a professional, don't get me wrong, but it's not a big part of the game when you're young. It's not that important, I don't think. So I'm all for it. I don't remember anybody teaching me how to head a ball. Maybe that's why I was so bad at heading a ball, John.
I,
I probably headed the ball the least amount of any center back in MLS history that played over 100 games or something.
well, what's it like? Because I mean, a ball rocketed off a foot at the professional level. You're talking about something that's probably 25, 30 miles an hour, coming off of a foot. If it's a volley hit square, I mean,
It's coming faster than that.
okay. So if something is coming at you faster than that, and you don't hit it on the center of your forehead, it ends up coming off the top of your head. How can you explain how much that hurts?
Yeah, and that's probably why I never really tried to block many shots with my head, John. I'm always amazed when I see these guys that stand there as someone's about to shoot at like the 18-yard box, and they're at like the penalty spot or the 6, and they're waiting to see if they can head this ball. And I'm like, these guys are crazy. Like, good for them because they're giving it everything, but I'm like, I don't think that was me, because I specifically remember till this day taking a ball like off the top of my head. I think somebody shot it. I think I was probably trying to get out of the way, John. I, I don't think I was trying to be brave and use my head to block the ball. I think I was like trying to get out of the way. It hit me square on the top of the head, and I just felt pins and needles go through my whole body.
Uh,
And this was pre-concussion, so who knows what the heck happened back there. But yeah, so no.
Yeah, no,
I didn't head many soccer balls in my career, John. I won't really be teaching anybody how to head a soccer ball. You can find better advice than from me.
Let's wrap up with the question from Emilio. I know that you can look at the Twitch pitch and see it, but somewhat alluding to the current state of affairs. Can you not be receiving the message through no fault of anyone, but still be in support of the messenger?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you can still like a coach or a teacher or something because they're a good human being, and that they want well for you. But at the same time, you're not understanding what they want from you, or what the issue is, or the lesson that they're trying to teach you. It's not getting through. And I think that, if it's a good relationship, you're able to tell that person, hey, I don't understand, or we need more here. And that's where assistant coaches come in really handy, right? To try and change the message a little bit and put it to the individual level, because even at the pro level, like, you still need to talk to guys differently, deliver the same message differently to different guys so that they can, resonate with them. So I do think so.
All right. Before we go, we have to address the mogul in training and find out what's going on up there at Rhode Island. You got a good point the other day against Sacramento Republic. I know that you're being driven crazy because of a ball that was hit over the bar from short distance late in the match. And I know that 3 points were there, but you ended up with a solid point against Sacramento Republic. As we talked about missed opportunities and being clinical in the final third, and especially being clinical inside the 18. Sir, 1 point out of a playoff spot, but I know that you leave 2 points on the table.
Yeah, it was it was the best game we've played all year. Sacramento are the best team in USL right now. They're undefeated, and we took it to them. We should have been up 3-4-1 in the second half, missed big chances. And of course, you give a good team a chance late in the game on a free kick, and they're going to bury you. And they did. And we tied 2-2 and absolutely should have won that game. But good point, because we played really well against the top team.
Right there. Right there. There's this. There it is. There's the Rhode Island FC scarf.
We play tonight, actually, Friday Night Lights out in Colorado. So.
Oh, well, I mean, Colorado Springs lost in NYCFC 2 at the top of the parking deck at St. John's in Open Cup. So they have not really been impressing a whole lot of folks, even though they have been hot recently, winning 3 in a row. They started out losing 5 of their first 6. So, so are you flying out to Colorado Springs the second this is over?
I am not.
You're not taking the Rhode Island FC corporate jet out to Colorado Springs after your round of golf?
I wish such a thing existed, but nope. I'll watch it on TV tonight, and then I'm up at 6 a.m. tomorrow for youth baseball and softball tournaments, John. Living the good life.
Oh, man. Well, but we've got to root for Mother Nature to help you out, to make sure that you can get your round of 32 in, to where you can advance in this tournament in the second round. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to catch up with you on a bunch of different things. And if I don't say it enough, thank you for being as open and as honest with your candor about what it's like growing as a mentor and using all of these different examples and everything as a part of the process. So no, I can't thank you enough for doing all this stuff.
Of course. Anytime, John. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
Yep, they got to stare at Nashville on that road trip there. Go get your golf in. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
That's Michael Parkhurst. And now we bring in Jarrett Smith for hour number 2. And so, Jarrett, we got to talk, I guess, about Atlanta and Nashville and what else is on your mind this morning, other than there's been a lot of discussion about what's been going on in Louisville that has nothing to do with either Lou City or race in Louisville.
I was about to say, make sure everybody clears the path for Parky getting to the course. You don't need anything dumb happening with him trying to get to the course like we saw this morning in Louisville.
No doubt. Bart is coming. Yeah, Bart is coming in because the discussion that we started yesterday with a topic. Look at this. Look at the made-up background. Look at that.
Look at the dedication.
Look at this.
Look at the effort being put into his life right now.
Wow.
What am I doing with this?
Wow. He's gone with the artificial background with his server. And as long as he stays within his person, with whatever is there,
his person.
Well, because he reached for the coffee mug, and you could see that his arm turned blue, and yes. He brought the mug in, and the mug kind of see, it's blue arms. Yeah, see, it's there. It's normal. It's not, and now it's normal. See, when it's within his person, that you get to see what's going on with the addition of the new set, and so. Bart is coming in because of what happened yesterday, and we didn't quite get the chance to have the elongated discussion about how silly people are being over in Jarrett, can you do it better than I can? The country that Jason,
England?
That one, yeah, a little longer. Can you?
England?
Yeah. So
I'm not going to give you like Jason's level of spite. I can make it Paulding County, which is somehow even worse. And that's pretty much all I'm going to give you.
Yes. And so Bart is now with us to start off hour number 2, because we didn't get the chance to talk about everything more in depth about the abject silliness, and those are the words that I'm going to use, where the discussion is the vote about getting rid of VAR in England. Thank you, Wolves. Thank you, Gary O'Neill. If I didn't have another reason not to pay attention to what's going on at the Molyneux, this is definitely one of them. I would think that that Barringham Forest would be a part of this discussion.
Barringham Forest?
Yeah, I figure we'll start calling them Barringham Forest, because Evangelinas Marinakis deserves this fate. What in the blue hell's going on over there, Bart?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not a native of the Midlands, and I can't speak to what's in the water over there. But I think this is an overreaction to, shocking. I think legitimate complaints about VAR within PGMOL and EPL, right? I think that there are times that we as fans have watched these matches in the EPL and been confused by the decisions that they came to, but also the inconsistency even within matches, but certainly from match to match. And I do think that there are legitimate complaints to levy at VAR in the EPL. Part of it is because I think England thinks that they know better than every other person, thing, league structure on the planet. And the reality is they're not very good at it. And they have created problems for themselves that they're now using to just, point to and say, hey, blow it all up, when that's not really the solution. Every other league in the world has figured out some way, shape, or form to implement VAR, to use it as a tool for refereeing. Now, I understand people complain, but people complain when referees got calls wrong on the field too. So I think the issue with the EPL is you have owners who don't want to work to make it better, and they're just at this point saying, nah, scrap it.
It's much easier to complain about things than actually fix them.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, little anecdote from this morning.
Yeah,
Drinking out of my Atlanta United mug.
As he brings,
I was about to say,
drinking out of my Atlanta United mug.
that softball on a tee and handed him a perfectly rolled hot softball bat.
Spilled the water trying to get it into the coffee maker.
Oh, no.
And then dropped the sugar container and it broke. So I'm going up to Nashville this weekend to watch Atlanta United. I'm sure there's no correlation between these series of events while trying to make coffee in an Atlanta United coffee mug. As we learned that Thiago Almada will not be playing. Anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, Jarrett, you're right, though, because they just looked at this and they wanted to argue and yell. And at the end of the day, the owners do make decisions. But I think what they're making a decision on is misguided at best, and probably just out of anger, because every single person has been slighted by VAR. So that means it's working. Like, in my opinion, overall, it's working if everyone's mad at it, because that means everyone's had a decision go against them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that the problem is that EPL has, again, a lot of inconsistencies, and that comes to training, and that comes to, the league and the PGMOL coming together to figure out how do we want to use this as a tool to referee, not to fully referee a match, which I think sometimes the EPL gets into.
No.
Well, it's that line that we've talked about, John. We've talked about this. Is that line of, looking at calls to correct them versus re-officiating the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and trying to find that balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jurgen Klopp had his last press conference as the head coach at Liverpool. And he says he would vote to scrap it because he does not trust those responsible for making it work.
And I think that's actually that's a great way to put it. He's against it because the people in charge of it aren't doing their jobs well enough to make it the best it possibly can be.
That sounds like a labor issue, not an equipment issue, though.
It's a poor craftsman that blames his tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a skill issue. However, again, I think it works for the most part in the rest of the world. I do think it works in MLS, despite what a lot of people will argue with in here. Again, you're going to have some inconsistencies. You're going to have some issues. But overall, I think MLS does a good job of saying, okay, I do think, MLS not using to draw the lines. And I do think people get so upset about that in the Premier League. Now, I understand offside is not a gray area. You either were in an offside position or you were not.
Scream it from the heavens, please, because I get so sick and damn tired of listening every week when somebody posts, when we do this screenshot
the game,
when we do this screenshot bullshit about trying to put pictures of was he on or off, and like, he's close, you give it to him. No, it's a black and white ruling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was the ball over the line or not, Jarrett?
Yes. Also, one of my other favorite things to discuss, which is the ball was over the line. Like, okay, do you understand that a soccer ball is not a flat? It is a 3-dimensional object.
Yeah,
It
the
is a
sphere
spheroid
on
yes.
a flat rectangle.
Yeah.
But no, Jared, I mean, I think that's the issue is like specifically, I think people get most mad about the offside stuff because they look at it and go, well, it's close. How do you call him off? It's like, well, he was off.
The rule
He was off because it's a black and white ruling.
If you have a problem with it, change the rule. Don't change VAR.
And the problem with now we could go into a rabbit hole, but I just want to address the VAR.
It's an entirely different kettle of fish.
I think legitimately, I don't love drawing the lines because I think it's hard for me to say yes at this exact point the ball was kicked, which I do think there are legitimate criticisms on frame rate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think that the idea of if you can't tell if he's offside or onside from the naked eye, I'm kind of okay with that, right? I think most leagues get that. I do like the idea of semi-autonomous VAR. I think that is the way to go. And then if you really need to look at it, you can. But I think with the naked eye, you should be able to see was he onside or was he offside. I do think drawing the lines does get a little silly, but again, he's either offside or he's not. Like we can argue about did he gain an advantage from being in an offside position, but those are never the arguments. The arguments are always, oh, well, he drew the line. They drew the lines, and this player looked to be onside because I, in my head, don't want to accept that geometry is a thing.
Yeah, and four cards right. Like in the land of Paper Mario, I'm sure they take offense to this, which is fine. I don't blame them.
Yes.
Because they don't use a 3-dimensional ball the same way, most likely. But
it's absolutely true.
To that point, I can't remember if we've discussed this or not. I feel like we have. My memory's just shot from all the concussions.
Mine's always.
What are your thoughts on the potential changes to offside being, a body part has to be on versus a body part has to be off?
Yeah.
So I've gone back and forth on this, but I think that it would not resolve the issues you think it will.
Okay.
I think part of the problem is we're making one of the things that the laws of the game does, in my opinion, very well, is it translate superbly from the top level all the way down to the smallest grassroots level. And I think if you start doing that, you're looking at possibly even more confusion for grassroots level referees, for the youth leagues that we're refereeing, for adult leagues we're refereeing. Now, I think you can say, oh, well, if they've got a body part on, then yeah, he's onside. But that may actually be more confusing. One, what are we defining as a body part? Are we still defining it as a playable part of the ball? Because what if my finger's, back? What if their shoulder is still in front of my foot? What if my foot is, so I think it's just easier to say if you're beyond this line, you're offside.
What is a body part?
Right. But at the same time, we as officials at the grassroots level, especially, and anyone without VAR, have been told to err on the side of they're onside, right? That's the general ideas. Don't put your flag up unless they're 100% sure that you're offside. Maybe that's something that we need to get back to in training. Mm-hmm. But again, I think the issue is VAR at the top level is great. We don't use it at the bottom levels of the game. But the rest of the laws of the game do translate pretty well up and down the pyramid. And that is one of the beauties of the sport. You look at the NFL, you look at basketball, and how, basketball, for some reason, we have 2 halves in college, yet 4 quarters every other place we play.
Only men's college.
Yeah, only men's college, right? Because the women's game, they do it differently because they got it right.
Reasons.
Reasons. They get it right. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think outside of like the general timing and even in the laws of the game, we stipulate talking about the size of the ball. It works well. So I think with the offside thing, I don't love the idea of the Wenger rule where, oh, well, if the body part is on, then he's on, or like there needs to be daylight. I think that would actually be harder to call at the grassroots level, and you would just have more offsides go not called. And I don't think we really want that because that'll put referees in greater danger because people will know about things that they don't know about more than they already do.
I was going to say.
So, we got that skill on lockdown already, bud.
Mm-hmm. I talked to Michael about the English FA and the apparent gradual banishing of intentional heading in age groups 7 through 9, 10, and 11 over the next couple of years. How far down the age pyramid do you go when it comes to reffing matches? Have you gone?
Well, I did like U9s this past weekend, especially this season when the high school kids are playing high school, and so yeah.
How prevalent is intentional heading when it comes to the youth game? From what you
they've gotten rid of it in terms of the U11, and
years.
Yeah,
England's behind us right now.
Oh wow,
yeah, shocking. England's behind you on a player safety issue.
The England fans are not happy at all right now about like kids not being able to hit the ball. By the way.
Well, here's two things that I've actually seen from this. Both one is good, one is bad. So first off, yes, under 11, intentional heading not allowed. Obviously, this is a concussion issue and just a general like safety issue for players. Love that. One thing that's been positive is players have learned how to play with the ball without their head.
It's
and that
football.
From a U.S. perspective is great because it's taught kids how to actually use their body, the rest of their body, to control the ball, because you don't control the ball that well with your head, especially if you're trying to then keep possession. You just don't. So that's the good thing. The second thing, though, that is bad is you get a lot of players who go in with their feet and cleats raised up to this head height, and then we have some issues with, dangerous situations and it's hard for me to call it because I'm like, well, they're all putting their feet up at the head height. So was this really a dangerous play, or are we all just being a little silly right now? Yeah. But I do think that is a negative because coaches need to learn to teach them how to use their chest or other body parts. But overall, I think learning how to not control the ball with your head at a young age is better for the overall development, because 12 and up, you can head. I think it should even be 13 personally, because at some point you do have the actual body control strength to control the ball with your head. At the U12 level, I just don't think that you possess that body control, that body strength to truly affect the ball without one on a consistent basis to not get hurt. And so I think actually it's worked really well for the U.S. in a country that needed to teach kids how to play with the ball with their feet or control the ball with their chest or other parts of their body that aren't their head.
Since we have you, and I know that we kind of bounce around all over the place, and we've gone through reffing down here, and we've gone through a couple of other things. I don't think we've had the chance really to do a deep dive with you, because I think the news broke on like Monday night and Tuesday. We haven't had the chance to get into Jesse Marsh and the Canadian men's national team to a great deal of depth. I went into a deep dive on Tuesday, kind of breaking everything down financially and the corporate sponsorship of his job title, which is going to require a double-sided
endowed professorship. Yes.
Yes. And
he's got tenure. He's in great shape.
Yeah. Apparently now he has gone public, at least, and has mentioned that he felt aggrieved over the U.S. search. And I don't want to take anything away from Soccer for US POD if you go in this direction.
We haven't talked about this. It may come up on the next episode, but we're hopefully getting into actual things that matter. So let's talk about this one now.
Yeah. So unhappy with his treatment in the U.S. MNT coaching search. Marsh's agent, Ron Waxman, had announced he wouldn't be getting the job. So Berhalter then gets hired the next day. And then he says in the Call It What You Want podcast, my respect for U.S. soccer is big, but I went through a process with him, right? And I'm not going to go into it, but I wasn't treated very well in the process. So he says he's not going to go into it, and then he gets into it. But I wasn't treated very well in the process. And so whatever, man. That's in the past now. The minute it was done, I was like, okay, I'm moving forward, and I'm going to figure out what's right for me. It motivated me again to find the right people. And so now I just want to talk about Canada because I'm excited. I feel like it's a fan base and a player pool and a nation that resonates with me. I've worked there before. I know a lot of the people involved.
It resonated really well with you before.
Oh, brother. So I think the only thing
Look,
missing is Jesse setting his driver's license on fire at the Peace Bridge and launching it into Niagara Falls at this point.
I think obviously USMNT Twitter grabbed a hold of this because U.S. Soccer does nothing wrong or right ever, and everything about them is evil and corrupt. Look, Jesse Marsh didn't get a job, and how many of us have gone through multiple rounds of interview process, maybe even reached the final round of interviews that you knew of and didn't get a job? Well, no, you don't think highly of that organization anymore, and you feel wronged. I will speak from experience as someone who has been laid off multiple times and had to go through multiple rounds of interviews with companies. That said, it's possible that they did not treat him well. I don't know why they wouldn't, because he met most of the criteria they wanted, right? Yeah. He was an American. He was a successful MLS coach. He has European coaching history. So the conspiracy is obviously that they just wanted Berhalter again, which is no secret that they were going to probably rehire Greg Berhalter had the thing not come out by the man and woman who apparently want to control every part of their kids' lives, including sending him to a club that doesn't really actually want him, so he doesn't play.
That was going to be a follow-up topic about Gio Reyna, but yeah, keep going.
But I think it's possible that U.S. Soccer gave a little bit more preferential treatment to Greg Berhalter. However, I would say Greg knows the people within U.S. Soccer, so they're likely to just be slightly more friendly than Jesse Marsh. But I also think, again, you're talking about a guy who did not get the job that he wanted. So, of course, he has some sour grapes. And that doesn't mean we dismiss it entirely. But from all we know about this interview process, it was rigorous. I mean, Berhalter and Crocker talked about the rigorous, testing that they did, the conversations they had that were long. I mean, talking about like 24 hours of an interview. And so Jesse may just feel like that was unnecessary. But again, I think it's fair to accept that U.S. Soccer doesn't have the best hiring practices. I mean, we got Greg Berhalter the first time for not great reasons. But it's also, you have to understand that this is a man talking from a position of not getting the job he wanted. And as much as I think people want to latch onto this, you have to understand. One, also, he didn't let go. Like, Homeboy was talking about U.S. Soccer, Greg Berhalter, and players multiple times, months after he didn't get that job. He could not get their names out of their mouth. Now, yes, he's a pundit. That's his job. But the way he was talking about it, the tone he was using was very much a man aggrieved. Much like Scotty Scheffler, we'll talk about Louisville City's police department in the coming months, I'm sure.
Or the gentlemen who are getting billable hours.
Taxpayers are about to have to pay a lot of money in a future lawsuit.
Oh boy!
Louisville Police Department have always been upstanding and by the book officers. I'm sure we've never had any problems with them before in the recent history.
Searches Louisville Police Department.
Can't imagine.
No. The other topic I wanted to get into you with is we do the Soccer for US / Reffing Down Here potpourri on a Friday before we get into the weekend Whiparound. I know this will shock folks, but involving the discussion with Gio Reyna, both Dortmund and Reyna's former agency, Wasserman Media Group, were not initially in favor of sending Reyna to England.
Was anyone?
But Reyna's
agent was.
But Reyna's father, former U.S. international Claudio Reyna, was a strong advocate of the deal, according to a source close to Forrest. There was some logic underpinning the choice, according to the four-letter. Nuno was thought to be an ally in the move. The manager and Gio Reyna share the same agent, Jorge Mendes. And one of the reasons the player picked Forrest ahead of interest from Marseille, Sevilla, or Wolves was because of Nuno's presence at the club.
Well, look, yes, I think it's fair to say that Nuno is probably a good coach that Gio could learn under. I think that's fair to say. Jarrett, I don't follow Nottingham all that closely after they
Neither do I.
Once they decided Matt Turner wasn't good enough for them, and then their new guy also sucked. I haven't really paid much attention to Nottingham Forest transfer practices because clearly they don't know what the hell they're doing.
They've dropped $250 million on 40-plus players. The idea for Nottingham Forest
Yeah.
is for Evangelinus Marinakis to throw money at a problem.
Which now he's trying to build a new city ground outside of the existing one. Anyway, Homeboy is just a rich boy who likes to throw money around. It's basically Todd Bowley, but Todd has a better club. The problem here is
It's Todd Bowley with better marketing.
Well, because he's not American.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, the Greeks have always been great with their money. The problem here with Gio is that Nottingham just didn't need him, right? And I think that was the biggest issue with this move. Isn't in singularity Nottingham Forest or playing for Nuno, because both of those things are good. Like, fine, you want to go play in the Premier League? I think he has the skills to do it for the most part. He went to a club that didn't need him, and that was silly. I do actually think that Marseille, Lyon, Nice, one of those clubs that are pushing European competition. Some of them are in European competition. I think those would be better suited for him. A league that is still attacking minded, but not super physical. Not like the Premier League, which thinks that the only way to win a soccer game sometimes is to knock someone. But he just picked the wrong situation. And it's clear that his dad wanted him to go there. So he went there. And the problem that I keep running into is, Claudio, man, your son is an adult. At some point, you've got to let him make decisions, and you've got to back out and let actual professionals do their job. You're not a professional agent. You're not a professional scout anymore. Let them do their job and stop trying to tell your kid where and how to play.
10 appearances, 2 starts, 231 minutes played, 1 assist. And one of those appearances was a 71-minute start. So 9 appearances, 1 start, 160 minutes otherwise for Gio Reyna in his season overview with Nottingham Forest. So that's what he's not doing at Nottingham Forest.
And I think the frustrating part is, had he stayed at Dortmund, 1, he'd be on a plane to London soon. 2 weeks? 2, I don't think that his stat line would have been much different, but I think the consistency of club would have helped. I think everyone has issues with Eden Terzic. He seems to not be able. I mean, he choked the title away last year, and then this year he's sitting in 5th, 6th, so possibly looking out at not making a European run unless they win in 2 weeks. But Dortmund is a better club right now than Nottingham Forest, and there's better chances for him to play right now than at Nottingham Forest, even though we know that he wasn't getting a whole lot of love and attention at Dortmund. I just think he made the wrong decision, and clearly his dad was part of that, and that's really bad from Claudio, who seems to have a know-it-all attitude that doesn't really translate to actual success.
Mm-hmm.
Noted travel dad, Claudio Reyna.
as Bart reaches for his mug and looks off camera.
Well, here's the thing is because I agree with Bart. I also, at some point, I also need.
Oh, thank you, Pixel. That's right. They're in 5th. So I forgot Germany got that extra spot because better results than England. Shocking.
Yes, that is true.
At some point, Claudio's got to let his kid grow up, but also at some point, I keep waiting for Gio to basically tell his dad to kick rocks because you're an adult. And at some point, you can't wait for your dad to make the right decision. You cannot constantly wait for your dad to make the right decision when he's repeatedly showing you that he will not make the right decision for your well-being. You're going to have to do it for yourself. And that's a hard thing to do, I know. But you're going to have to make the right decision for you.
When you got a dad that's you got a helicopter dad like that Claudio seems to be. That's where we are. What's the latest with Soccer for US POD?
I will have an episode recording to you soon after I get off of here.
Okay. Would you like to tease the content, sir?
Sure. So we are talking depth charts and Copa America roster, and how there are differences in a straight up depth chart and building a roster.
Yes.
As you'll see in the episode. Obviously, we talked before when we were recording. It wasn't official that we would get 26 players, so we did a 23-man, and then said, okay, but at this position, this player is probably likely to get called up if 26 is happening, because we kind of figured it would. Shaq Moore, congratulations. I'm joking. Gary Smith is not the only reason Nashville is not good. But hey, they're probably going to beat us this Saturday because we're also not good.
Oh boy, it is a weekend preview filled with optimism. As always,
I'm just really excited that at some point tonight I'll be paying a live band to play a cover of one of my favorite songs, and that is worth the trip to Nashville alone. What happens tomorrow happens.
Do you have parking, sir?
I have parking. Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, Abby. I already bought parking.
Just checking. Because
Are you going to be?
I already have tickets, so.
Are you going to be doing wind sprints around the track while you wait for parking to empty out?
Oh, yeah.
Jared, I have so many thoughts about this stadium after being there like multiple times for multiple different teams.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, the stadium itself is fine. It is nothing special. I think the steepness is cute. Whatever. Good for y'all. Your concessions are terrible and overpriced.
Overpriced is
way overpriced.
$90,000 for a hot dog.
And not that good. I get better food in Mercedes-Benz Stadium for
less.
Yeah.
Half the price.
Absolutely.
So there's that. The stadium itself, I remember, and we may get this issue again Saturday, 2-3 years ago, when we had the thunderstorms and there was rain coming down inside the stadium of a supposedly enclosed roof stadium. That isn't even to begin with the actual location they chose and the just general lack of public transportation in Nashville in general to compound a problem where you put a stadium that wasn't really fit for actual pedestrian or car transportation. It's not a good stadium, but somehow they keep getting U.S. national team games. They keep getting love and appreciation outside of it being at best mid. And this location itself sucks. I'll just say this: Orlando City Stadium 1,000 times better. Because that's going to make some people in this comment thread.
Don't they have an Applebee's nearby too?
Well, they're walkable to downtown. It's a mile to the downtown area of it's on Church Street. You walk a mile east, you're Bar Central. How did Nashville not build a stadium that's not walkable to their freaking bars? The dumbest. And now we're building a brand new football stadium across the bridge. And they just anyway.
As always, my friend, thanks for answering the bat signal. It's always great to get your insights about anything and everything across the board, especially since very few of us wear a shirt that is of a different color than the two teams participating on a daily basis and get to control.
Hey, sometimes in MLS it's the same color.
That's okay. That's true. Yes, that is.
And this is something I've had a conversation with multiple assigners who kind of get a little picky that I'm wearing a green shirt and the U12 goalkeeper is also in green. And I'm like, well, one, I hope my AR can tell the difference between a 35-year-old man and a U12 girl. But, also,
good luck.
Also in MLS, multiple times the goalkeeper is wearing a light blue and the ref's also in light blue. They're like, well, don't you think you'll be close enough? No, I guarantee I will not be close enough to the goalkeeper for them to I guarantee.
I hope that there is nothing left on the floor that will create any kind of problems with leaks and erosion and everything that happened this morning with the mug. And may all the sugar have been picked up. May all of the liquid been picked up, and may your kitchen be in one piece.
The coffee got made, so that's what is important. I'm looking forward to coffee tomorrow morning in Nashville drinking it and hanging out with all the wonderful, reportedly 1,300 or 1,200 Atlanta United fans making the trip up to Nashville. But
remember, the English think that a trip to Nashville for us, which is our closest road trip, is is like worthy of a news story in England. They sent 400 fans all the way to God knows where, 3.5 hours away in such a long, arduous trip. Yeah, I'm amazed no one died of dysentery and you managed to collect enough meat.
And they
all over
have
the
they
wagon.
have trains that take them there, Jarrett. That's the thing that
I know.
I'm like, y'all don't even have to drive.
Yes.
You can hop on a train. You know what happens during the Euros? Everyone in Scotland hops on a train, pops open a bottle of Buckfast, and gets absolutely ripped before the train gets halfway to Trafalgar.
Jarrett, the only reason why I wanted the Women's World Cup in the Belgian bid is for the trains. That said, planning right now, support me at buymeacoffee.com/soccer4us.
He's
planning a trip.
getting his Brazil trip already figured out.
No, planning trips to Switzerland for next summer's Women Euros.
Yes.
And you can get to all the stadiums via train. You know what Nashville does not have? A
Trains.
train connecting to it.
They do not. They absolutely.
But they have a goal.
The closest you can get is Chattanooga.
Yeah. You have.
Yes.
I have. They barely have buses in this city. Y'all, Nashville, listen to me. If y'all want to be a real city, run more buses and maybe build a trolley line that goes down Broadway. I'm just saying, close Broadway. Why Broadway has cars on it ever is insanely idiotic.
Yeah.
But then again, that state doesn't,
Yeah. There was crap. There was one other thing.
John, a bar not you, ropes. A bar bicycle. A bar bicycle. The fact that we don't have multiple fatalities from bar bicycles, on Broadway is nothing short of a minor miracle every single year.
Yep. Oh,
yeah, Michael, you can take a train to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Track 29
goes up there.
Yeah. Bart, keep everybody in there, the supporters. Keep the 17s there after the match because the unified match is going on also after the match on tomorrow.
You heard it, y'all. Unified match after that also will help you with traffic.
Yes. You won't have to go sit in the the dilapidated racetrack and just stare off into the distance.
Yeah, you can take laps on the quarter-mile oval, but to kill some time. But you've got a unified match between Atlanta United's unified and Nashville's unified squad. That is going to be.
And then you can tune in on the Soccer Down Here network while you're driving home, if you're doing it like I am, and listen to the wonderful call of the Atlanta United 2s versus Huntsville City Trash Panda Rocket people.
Well, it's going to be. Yeah, that's about right. Because the thing is that tomorrow is the Atlanta United Equinox. I start the broadcast day off at 9 a.m. with the academy academy match at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. So that's at 9 o'clock, and I think it's on the YouTube's at atlutd.com's YouTube channel. Then it's the match at Nashville at Geodis. Then it's the unified match, and I think Maddie and Jason are on that call. And then they drive to Huntsville to do the match with the 2s in Hunt City on the network. So 4 matches, one day, Atlanta United, combination of Atlanta United and the SDH network. We're nuts.
Listen, shout out to everyone who actually does real work on this network. They are true heroes. And they just let me come on here and yap on occasion.
We're insane. We're all insane. We're all insane on various levels, my friend. But that's
none of us make good decisions. It's fine.
If we weren't all crazy, we'd all go insane. RIP to the legend.
I can't listen. I can't listen to the network because it's still rough for me. And the new Zach Brown McAnally song, I can't listen to it. I can't. I literally can't.
I don't.
Zach
Brown he tried to take over the Jimmy Buffett thing.
Well, Kenny Chesney tried.
Kenny Chesney was trying, and
by the way, they're in town since like the early 2000s.
Yeah. Kenny Chesney tried it first, and I was like, nah, brah.
No one can do Jimmy Buffett the way Jimmy Buffett does, mainly because he almost broke the FCC.
Well, no, Jared already
he grew up there.
Jared already did.
He grew up there. You can't artificially talk about Gulf Coast culture if you didn't grow up in Mississauga, Mississippi.
Correct.
Yeah, there's a certain
grew up on the Gulf Coast. Mm-hmm. He is a pirate.
Yes.
Kenny Chesney just sleeps in a lawn chair on the beach because he got too drunk. That's not the same, but that's not the same.
Hey, it took a lot of work to get that business degree from UT.
Yes, it did. Where he can do whatever damn SEC documentary he now wants.
But this is so years ago we went and did the SEC Women's Soccer Championship in Orange Beach in like November.
Yes.
Orange Beach in November
Yes.
looks like Fallout. There's like 8
It's-
people there.
So yes, one, it's Alabama, so that
Yes.
alone is a strike against it. No offense to your other half, John.
Yes.
But
but that's also more like that's like Soganofla anyway. That's more like coast.
that entire Panhandle area should just be its own state, like separate from both from all 3 Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, because they do not match up with the rest of the culture of those states they connect to.
Like, like the Franklin Republic up in Tennessee and what it used to be before.
Yeah, Jared, I forgot.
Jesus.
I forgot that the SEC did their women's soccer championships down in Orange Beach, and it's just like
we were down there. We went to the Floribama one night. Which if you've never been, I highly recommend it.
Do it.
The Floribama is a cultural
so fun.
touchstone.
Mm-hmm.
It is so fun. Hey, Kenny Chesney wrote a song about it. So
It is a cultural crossroads, and I highly recommend it. So they do a thing every year called the mullet toss, where they take
it's not what you think, people.
It's the fish, the mullet.
Not
they
the
stand on the
hair.
state line and they try and throw it as far as they can into the other state. We thought, oh my God, we have to stay here for this and cover it. And then it occurred to us, like, actually, we should not. Let's leave that to people who actually understand the culture better than us, because we feel like we're going to get it wrong. Like, we just had this stress the entire time. Like, man, we would screw this up. Like, we would miss something about this because we're not from here.
No, absolutely true.
It's just a different world.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
It's the same question I have every time someone drives by me with a 30A sticker on the back of their car.
They bought the 30A sticker at an Exxon on the way through.
listen, I'll be down that way next weekend, so I'm heading to Santa Rosa Beach before heading down to Fort Lauderdale. So
Go for
lots
it.
of beach time for me next week.
All right, go get your second cup of coffee, my friend.
Well, what if I told you I'm already on number 2?
Well, then
Could
go
you
get
get a third cup of coffee?
your third. Get your third.
Anyway, everyone get there safely. If you're taking
Yes.
the bus, great. If you're not, be safe. Look forward to
Stay-
seeing everyone and
stay
cheering
for
you
the-
on.
Stay for the unified match after it's over.
Support all the Atlanta United teams, as Abby so eloquently put in her feature on the Atlanta United social media feed.
Yes, the bus is not leaving until after the unified match anyway. Keep drinking your coffee. We'll see you soon, as he's going to pound his coffee. All right, so we've got about 20 minutes left, and we'll go through juice boxes here on the Whiparound and get you ready for the weekend. Scotty Scheffler birdied his first hole and bogeyed his second hole, so he is now on his third hole.
Scotty's either winning that tournament outright, like walking away, or he's missing the cut. I don't think there's an in-between.
Yeah, so this is going to be completely and totally either off the rails for him today, and he's out the door and he's going to go spend time with his wife and his newborn child, or he's going to win the damn thing by like 38 strokes. And
Yeah.
So, all right. So
I say Xander Schauffele went out there and like played on easy mode yesterday.
yeah,
The first 18.
62, and it's starting to rain there on campus. So yeah, Schauffele has a 9 under 62. His tee time's at 2:38. All right, so juice boxes, and we'll go through all the matchups here and get everybody ready. And anybody who wants to have anything on their mind, concerns, thoughts about Atlanta and Nashville, we've got those as well. The episodics return today as well. We'll take you through all of the lower divisions. USL Championship, League One, NPSL Southeast. We even got a little USL League Two action where we caught up with folks from SSA and Dothan United as their season has started. So those episodics are going to be posted today across the network as well. So it's going to be learning about the region 20 minutes at a time or so. Tommy Scoop's also mentioning the purple team. It looks like Blackburn representatives are back in Central Florida trying to figure out if they can sign Duncan McGuire. So, again.
What's that, Lucy? A football for me to kick?
Exactly. We're going to go, since Atlanta and Nashville is the first game on the board, we're going to get to that one last. Our buddy Kevin Egan has a very, very busy evening squared away. Charlotte, 7:30 kicks, and there's 6 of them. Charlotte hosting LAG. Charlotte is a plus 121, draws a plus 267. LAG on the road is a plus 204. Jarrett, what say you?
Give me Charlotte here. I had said this earlier in the season. I stand by it. I said Charlotte would have some moments where like they were confusing and struggled, or it was kind of flat and weird. They had that when Minnesota rolled in there and pummeled them 3-0. but I think they're 3 on the bounce right now, and Charlotte isn't perfect. They still have a number of issues with being unable to lock down functioning designated players, but Dean Smith has them. They're structured. They're organized. They're pragmatic. They beat Chicago 2-0. I think that 1-0 this weekend.
Yeah, 1.
They beat them 1-0 on like an Westwood Galazo. Like it, Charlotte's not perfect, but they're structured. They'll be fine. I think they need more to take that next step.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're in a bad place right now.
No, because you got to hear this.
That's an absolute banger.
You know, when Jess is hanging out with Willie P. So I'm thinking the total might be the play here. You know,
might be
with the over under being. Let's check the numbers. 2.5 is a minus 164. 3.5 is a plus 150. I'll take that 3.5. I'll go over at plus 150 to start. Easy play on the board there. Also on the board at 7:30, there's like 38 other matches. Cincinnati, who will probably start falling down in the 55th minute. If they've got a lead at home against all caps.
If they do, it's because they're going to be tired. I don't want to run the same joke we would run for Philadelphia.
They're Philly light.
But Cincy's better on the ball, I think, than Philadelphia. And they're a better team.
Yeah.
I said early in the season, like Philadelphia, when they were unbeaten, like kind of felt like Philly was in that mode where like it gets really tiring when you talk about a team that's playing well, but the results don't show it.
Yeah.
Philly was a team that wasn't playing great, and the results were overachieving to the way they were playing.
Yeah. Philly's now four to the bad.
Yeah, 4 to the bad at home, man. I don't trust what Philly is right now.
No.
Cincinnati's better on the ball. I think it's a disservice to say that like Cincinnati is.
Well, I mean, when you have
like
Kelsey and Acosta versus Gazdag and an injured Michael Ua and Quinn Sullivan, no, the firepower is far better in Cincinnati right now.
Yeah, I think they're better on the ball. They're better structured. They've got if Cincinnati doesn't spit the bit against Columbus, Cincinnati's probably going to play an MLS Cup final last year, and I would have taken them against LAFC.
Yep. So all caps is a plus 313 on the road. Your draw is a plus 289. FC Cincinnati's a minus 1.25. Messi and friends hosting DC United. I would probably take the over in this one all day long. Messi and friends are a minus 213.
Is Messi playing?
Don't know yet. And even Benteke might take care of it on his own. And the defense for Messi and friends being what it is. Messi and
do
friends,
they have a 19-year-old guarding Benteke?
They might. Well, if they put Krivtsov in there, it's probably just as effective. Messi and friends are a minus 213. Draws a plus 401. DC United to win in Fort Lauderdale is a plus 465. You're thinking draw, aren't you? You're thinking that draw or at least the total.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Give me the draw. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned Philadelphia. Philadelphia is on the road to Foxborough to take on the stagnant Caleb Porters. The Revs are a plus 173. Draws a plus 257, and Philadelphia on the road is favored as a plus 144. That should show you A, what the world thinks about Philly, and B, what the world thinks about the Revs.
Yeah, because there's not much trusting really anybody right now. Fine, whatever. Give me Philadelphia. I'm not going to enjoy picking Philadelphia here because I think, like I said, I think Philly has a myriad of issues they need to work through. And maybe they lasted, because I talked about this with Rich about, did you hang on a year too long? Does Curtin trust the kids? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But man, somebody in record time broke Caleb. So
yeah, absolutely.
Never seen him break that fast.
No, Hudson River is at NYCFC. Let me see which venue it's going to be at, because God knows we don't know what venue it is, and it might be at the damn top of the parking structure on the campus of St. John's at this point.
Yeah.
It is Citi Field. Okay, so it is at Citi Field. So slightly larger, maybe. NYC is a plus
Possibly.
137. Your draws a plus 235, and Red Bulls are a plus 197 at Citi Field.
Give me Red Bulls. I know this is a classic throw out the records kind of thing, and
Throw out the records when these two teams play.
But also shout out, man, to shout out to New York City for for having for kind of realizing they had balls when they beat Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Nick Cushing is lasting longer than I thought he would.
Yes,
that's where I'm at with
them. Copa Canadiense, Toronto hosting CF Montreal at BMO. Toronto FC is a minus 115. CF Montreal, who had 98 injuries.
Toronto is missing 23 people.
Yeah, and so CF Montreal is a plus 298 heading to BMO. Draws a plus 270.
Everyone is out for anyone who anyone in the Twitch pitch right now. You might be called up for the Toronto game.
Yeah, really. You've got 8:30s. Austin hosting Sporting Kansas City at Q2. Austin's a plus 116 at home. Draws a plus 265, and Sporting is a plus 211.
Austin just keeps. Austin just refuses to die.
Yeah,
rather rudely, I might add.
Yeah.
I'm interested in Austin.
Yeah. Okay. So plus 116.
I don't have a good reason.
No. Fire and Crew at 8:40.
Crew. Yeah, don't think about it.
No,
the fire RMS.
They are.
Remember, the only reason they didn't get bludgeoned by Atlanta is that Atlanta basically refused to finish in Chicago, and everyone else is doing the job. And I'd still like to know if they reached out to Jesse Marsh to manage that team.
Yeah,
maybe he said no. I'm interested in that answer.
Yep. So Crew are a plus 127 on the road, so you can get Crew on the plus side at a plus 127 going to Chicago.
Oh, heck yeah.
At a plus 190.
I don't care. I think Crew has Conca Champions coming up too.
They're getting June 1st.
June 1st, yeah. So, they're still take them.
Yeah. Copa Teja at Hell in a Shell. Houston's a minus 128 hosting FC Dallas, who's a plus 366. I don't think there's no brain attached to that one.
Yeah, don't think about it.
Also at 8:30, Minnesota is minus 132 hosting Portland. Remember, kids, mics are always hot. Portland is a plus 305, and your draws a plus 315. I got to go Minnesota here.
Yeah, Minnesota. Minnesota's at least again, they're structured.
Yeah,
they have a plan. I don't know. I don't know that the ceiling is as high for Minnesota all year long, because I don't know if they'll have the difference makers to go the entire season, but a much better situation than we thought they were in January.
Yeah,
when they didn't have a manager, they didn't have a technical director in the building, and we were wondering what the hell they were doing.
Yes.
So, kudos to you.
Yes, 9:30 RSL is hosting Colorado out at Rio Tinto. RSL's a minus 132. Rapids are a plus 338. Your draws a plus 288. RSL, don't think about it. I think
RSL, yeah. I did think about it. So thank you very much.
I've got to go with RSL at home because of Chicho Arango and what Rio Tinto is.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Colorado does just enough to kind of occasionally pop you in the nose.
Yes,
but again, I think Armas might actually have something going there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Take time.
10:30s. Your Earthquakes are hosting the Purple Team. Earthquakes on the plus side at a plus 133. Draws.
Nobody wins here.
And Orlando's a plus 192.
Nobody's winning here. Everyone loses.
The other 10:30, Seattle hosting Vancouver in Cascadia. Seattle's a minus 118. Vancouver's a plus 309.
I don't care. Sorry, Nico. I don't care. Seattle. What what do you need? And actually, it's funny. I checked like one of the Sounders subreddit.
Yeah.
To the chagrin of many people in Atlanta, and to the confusion of many people in Atlanta, people in Seattle were like, Gonzo's welcome back whenever.
Yeah.
Because Gonzo, as an assistant there, was and is still held in incredibly high regard in Seattle. And I think a number of people, I don't know if it's the majority or what, still feel like Gonzo leaving really hurt the way that they set up in games and prepared for games. And maybe it's one of those things where he was instrumental in getting them in good shape, and then Schmetzer was applying changes throughout the game or whatever it may be, or however that structure was, but he is still held in very high regard there. I'm sure to the confusion of many people here, but it's one of those things where you can have one person who in one place is not held in regard, and the place there, then you still hold a soft spot for him in the place it came from.
Yep,
it happens.
It does. Let's see. There was some other stuff that was going on, and I'm got to find. It's the last weekend of the Premier League season. Last weekend for a lot of the European leagues. And a lot of folks are wondering whether or not it's going to be Manchester City or Arsenal. All Manchester City has to do is take care of business, and they win their 6th league title in 8 seasons, which is certifiably insane that they could do that.
I will continue to scream this to the heavens that yes, they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of oil and blood money. I will also continuously point out that every time I check the end of seasons when stuff is weird, I am seeing someone spit a bit. And so rarely is the team that is spitting that bit wearing light blue. It will be tight late in the season, and somebody will decide to gag on a chicken bone. So rarely is that team Manchester City.
Yes.
I completely agree that Manchester City spends a lot of oil money. It's frustrating. It's annoying. But while you are complaining, I understand that you're complaining. I am actively begging you to win your games at the end of the season.
Yes. Bit of an issue.
It's a bit of an issue, John.
If you ain't winning, you ain't winning. San Diego FC looks like they've signed a 5-year deal with Xolos for a cross developmental. Hey, we'll help you out, you help us out, kind of a deal. So
it works.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm still looking.
We did one of those, and grumble.
Yes. We mentioned.
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
I didn't get a harumph out of you.
Give the governor a harumph.
Harumph. Thank you.
Wash your ass.
Yes, Governor Lepetame. I don't know how many folks saw this, but it is apparent that 777, for whatever reason, is still being stared at by the folks at the Premier League for possibly owning Everton, and this is where Ropes and Tom Russo's ears start catching on fire. I don't know if
they haven't turned it off yet. They're about to turn us off.
Yeah, RTBF.
That's okay.
Announced.
Hope you guys are well.
Yes. 77, this is the headline from RTBF in Belgium. 777 Partners is sinking. Its Belgian assets are in the hands of the courts. Standards shares seized. What's the future for the club? The shares of Standard Liège, as well as the possessions of 777 Partners in Belgium, are in the hands of the courts. The seizure, and this is Google translated from RTBF in Belgium. The seizure judge of the Liège Court of First Instance delivered his judgment yesterday, ordered a precautionary seizure, and thus followed the complaint, followed by Bruno Venanzi and the shareholders of Standard Liège Real Estate, the owners of the stadium. Back in May, Venanzi and the shareholders of the real estate company filed a complaint, demanded the seizure of the assets of 777. The owner of Standard did not pay them the second installment for the purchase of the stadium, €3 million plus interest. The shareholders are hoping to put pressure on 777 and force them to pay their debts. According to RTBF, the club's shares are seized, but not the accounts. Salaries of staff and players may be paid provided that Standard has the means. On the other hand, no more money transfers will be able to go from Standard to 777. The American group cannot recover the money from a possible transfer of players or the sums generated by the sale of subscriptions. Little hope 777 will pay the shareholders of the real estate company given their financial and legal troubles. So things ain't looking good for 777 in Belgium, but sure, why not? We'll go ahead and approve them to be the new owners of Everton. Once again, followed the complaints, followed by Bonanzi and the shareholders of the company that own the stadium, including Axel Witsel and Nasser Shadley. Neither had received the second group of payments due on the 15th and the 20th of April. Let's see. Also, this morning, apparently, the lead soccer body in Asia is scrapping the 12-year limit for having bosses. So you're going to have folks who are going to have 4 and 5 year terms, and you're just going to have the same folks ruling, at least in Asia. So keep an eye on that when it comes to stacking the deck with all of the dudes that would be in charge of certain organizations. Don't know if you saw this. If I could actually type the right Twitter account, then I could actually, perhaps, I don't know, give you the information. In Australia, an argument with an A-League ref ended in corruption charges.
Okay.
Vince Rugari.
Build on that.
Yes. Ulysses Davila was angry, according to the article in the Sydney Morning Herald. In retrospect, perhaps much angrier than he needed to be when referee Alireza Fagani didn't show a yellow card to Melbourne Victory's defender Damien De Silva for a challenge on him during a fixture in November. Close to halftime, MacArthur was up 1-0 looking for a second goal. Davila had just toe-poked the ball ahead of a young winger, putting him through on goal. De Silva took his legs out from underneath him. Drew went on to hit the crossbar, letting Victory off the hook. Davila went down in agony. A poorly timed tackle, but nothing dangerous from De Silva. Spared a punishment by Fagani. But Davila wasn't happy, and he let Fagani know about it. He kept going. And he kept going. He kept talking to the officials about it. Davila was arrested on Friday, having been identified as the ringleader of an alleged football criminal group within the team, as it's apparent perhaps he was laying it on a bit thick for a reason. Yellow card markets are ripe for exploitation in this way across world football. Deliberately getting booked for dissent would be a particularly inventive way to go about it. Davila is alleged to have engaged in spot fixing, manipulating the number of yellow cards shown at the instruction of a man from South America and convincing two of his teammates to do the same. Bacchus, another player, was charged. Kieran Bacchus, a 32-year-old midfielder for Sydney Wanderers, earned a yellow card for a tackle against Sydney FC. Bacchus was also charged by police on Friday, engaging in conduct that corrupts a betting outcome of an event, as was a third yellow card recipient for shoving a player. So a yellow card betting plot. Police allege Davila organized for Bacchus, Lewis, and one other MacArthur FC player to be paid $10,000 each if they could also intentionally attract yellow cards during matches, and that unsuccessful attempts were made in 2 other matches before the defeat in the A-League elimination final on May 4th. So you've got yellow card fixing, and police are seeking to question a 4th player who's currently interstate about his involvement. Sources close to the club fear a 5th player might be implicated. So you have the Office of Responsible Gambling is keeping an eye on this one. But yeah, so apparently
Office of Responsible Gambling and a branch off of the William J. LaPetame Gambling Casino for the Insane.
Yes. So corruption charges for 3 and possibly as many as 5 players in Australia. Where's Bam when you need him?
Probably yelling about the AFL.
Yes, absolutely.
Not the Arena League that is collapsing around its ears stateside, but that Jeff Fisher is now running, by the way.
Yeah.
But the Australian rules football.
Yeah, Michael, I didn't know that lines were established on cards either. I honestly did not know that. But yeah, apparently that's the case. And Arne Slot has confirmed that he will be Liverpool's next manager. So that is now officially official as well. There's a lot of games going on in lower divisions all weekend long. So if you're near one, go watch one, because it's all a part of the lifeblood of what's going on. Jarrett, the home voice of Apotheos, and
Not this week.
We'll hear.
Well, they're on the road.
I was going to say, you're the home voice of Apotheos. If you're the home voice of Apotheos on the road, then that'd be kind of interesting.
If they decide they want to make another run this year, we are very interested in going on the road to if they want to decide to make another run into the playoffs. But they're at App this week with the giant Sasquatches that just basically punted downfield.
Yes, and so we catch up.
It's going to look like an Iowa game.
Yeah, so you'll hear from Jonathan Mercado and from Dale Parker in our NPSL review preview show coming up later this afternoon. South Georgia Tormenta is hosting Red Wolves tomorrow night at 7:30 here in the Footprint. Charlotte is hosting the Murder Owls tonight at 7:30, and so that's just a part of it all. And Atlanta United too has signed another player, and it's from Florida Gulf Coast University, and from Crown Legacy, by the way.
FGCU, baby.
And so with the injury to Ramsey Kawazmi, who's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, they signed free agent Ethan Dudley for the, like I said, last season he was with Crown Legacy and was with Union Omaha, signed through July 16th. So he's on a 60-day trial with an option to extend through the end of the 24 season. At Northwestern, only player to start all 17 matches in 22. So you've got Northwestern and Florida Gulf Coast, time with Crown Legacy, signed with Union Omaha ahead of their 23 playoff run. So Ethan Dudley is now in for the next 60 days for Atlanta United 2, as the Equinox happens this weekend for Atlanta United. So it's going to be a fun weekend across the board. Once again, remember, starts bright and early with me and the Academy side from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Then it's the first team with Mike and Jason. Oh, we got to talk about Atlanta and Nashville before we go. What's on your mind with Atlanta and Nashville before we go?
Oh my God. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, honestly.
No. I mean, we're in added time.
Yeah,
right now.
we're in added time, and I have to go back to being a human being.
Okay.
I don't know how much of that new manager bump you get out of Nashville this week. Just because it's such a quick turnaround, man. Like they relieved Gary Smith of duties this time yesterday.
Yeah, that's true.
That's 48 hours before the game.
Yep.
It's just such an insanely short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what they will look like. For Atlanta, show me some balls. I think the comments you got out of Brad Guzan post game were pretty direct about that. That like I know he was, and I know it's going to ring hollow for people, and that's fine. Whatever. All I can do, don't shoot the messenger. All I can do is tell you what was said. I don't speak for the trees here. I am not the Lorax. But it seemed as though there was not. It seems as though they were not. They were not as they were not saying anything about the managerial staff, and I'll also tell you they're not going to say anything about the manager publicly, and the manager's not going. The manager might read them the riot act in private, but he's not going to go in front of the media and start running down a list of player hater of the year nominees.
The airing of the grievances. No.
Yeah, you don't do that in public. Like I said, they might dress him. He might dress him down. They might yell at each other behind closed doors, but they won't do it publicly.
Right.
But again, as the same thing I have been talking about is, look, if you do change managers, and guys don't like start picking up their feet, putting them down faster, getting stuck in a bit more, which I thought Gigi tried to do a lot of in this last week. In this last midweek game where he was getting stuck in on some of those tackles in Cincinnati, trying to get guys going. If you can't get your blood pumping, then that's an issue that betrays you as the player, not just the manager. So we'll see what they do, but we'll see what kind of fight they have in that game. oh God, I'm just get me through it. You know.
Yeah. Yep. And so obviously no Thiago Almada this weekend.
Nope.
So the 11 will be interesting to see what it looks like, and so will the game day 18.
I'm looking right at you, Nick Firmino.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what that midfield will look like because, like, you rested Tristan for, like, Tristan came off the bench, so I'm assuming it's him. You want bounce back performances from Tristan, William Ba.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you do in the midfield. Dax played a lot. And it's the thing where, like, I don't know how much Dax has in the tank anymore, and it's not to call him an old man. It's he's going to know his body as well as anybody is.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to burn. I don't want to run him into the ground, too quickly,
right.
And give him time to bounce back. So maybe he's able to start and give you something. Maybe he's able to come off the bench and give you something in this game. I don't know if it's Jay. Yeah, man, I don't know what it looks like going into this.
So we'll find out.
Hell, run 3. Do what you did in the second half. Run 3 at the back.
Yeah.
Treat Wiley and Brooks as wingbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Create a little bit more security at the back line if you want to. Maybe get a little more. Maybe have Tristan sit and protect the back 3 and play Jay and have Jay play underneath Nick Firmino, like we saw in the Open Cup, where they both kind of, if the field gets clogged in the middle, they both kind of flare out and start finding space in those dead zones.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. 1:45 in the afternoon tomorrow. That will be match number 2 of 4. Remember, after the match, stay at Geodis. The bus ain't leaving until after the unified match is over anyway. I think Jason and Maddie are going to have the call on that one. Yeah. And then they're driving to Huntsville, and it's the twos in Hunt City from Joe Davis. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern across the network here. Soccer Down Here. Mixler, mixlr.com. So you can download the Mixler app. You can follow it that way. Or if you're sitting in front of a laptop, you can go to soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Listen to it that way. But download the Mixler app. Follow SDH and SDH2. And you can have all of the network experiences simultaneously going on with us here at SDH. So Jarrett's going to go be a real human being and try and figure out what's going on to solving all of the world's problems. Everybody just
that's not happening.
Yeah, it always is. Once again, thanks for another great week here at SDH. Once again, all the episodics are coming out later today involving USL Championship, League One, Little League 2, and some NPSL. So you'll have that to listen to as well. Another episode of Soccer for US POD coming out a little later today. I think a 3D is slated for today since it's the last day of the regular season for Drew and his beloved United. So, Jarrett, before you leave, go ahead and send us home.
Mucho Platiel.
What he said. Back at it before you know it. Trust us. Mucho Platiel. Play it safe. Bye.